Hello, I'd like to welcome our audience to the Business Matters podcast. I'm Kaylynn Winegar, the Vice President of Investor Engagement. We're coming to you from the Win Technology Studio here at the Chamber office, and a massive thank you to our media sponsor, Royal Credit Union. Today, I have the honor of having Ryan Ludy here with me from the United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're excited to hear a little bit more about your new-ish role at United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley. Why don't you start off by telling us who you are and why you took the job?
So who I am, I moved down to the Chippewa Valley about 5 years ago now. Became involved right away with the Eau Claire Chamber, as well as the young professionals and other organizations across the Chippewa Valley. United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley being one of them. And about 2.5 years ago, I went to serve on their board. I had an opportunity through my predecessor to go serve on the campaign cabinet, and then was elected onto the board and served in that capacity. And then last April, had the opportunity to interview for the role of executive director, and 10 months later, here I am.
What made you get involved in United Way so early?
It's something that I was really, actually a few people have heard me tell this story, but in all honesty, my son, who at the time was 14, came home from his employer, and they do a United Way campaign, and to see a 14-year-old open his first paycheck and look at all the funds that are taken out of it, but then you see that he actually contributed to United Way, and he was very proud to do it, and I was just floored, and I looked more into it, met with Andy, who was the previous director, and the rest is history.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've been involved with United Way for 11 years or so. I also started by taking some of the proceeds from my paycheck. At the time, I was with Eau Claire County, and so I got involved there with just giving back in small ways, and then I started to volunteer, and we did our countywide food drive. It's one of the largest in the area, and so was on that committee for a while, and then I actually became involved in the financial stability impact area, which was really, really incredible. I think I was on that for 3 or 4 years before I had to step off.
And that's really where it comes in that, there's ways of giving back in the community, and that was one of the things I could do about the campaign of going around and educating people on United Way and serving in that capacity. And then you see these other, I guess I call them future leaders, coming in and wanting to be involved in things they're passionate about, and our initiatives allow them to do exactly that. And you don't have to be an expert on it. It's just you come in and do things that are interested, and it's giving back. It doesn't just have to be a monetary give back to be involved in philanthropy. It's the volunteerism side, which April 2024 happens to be Volunteer Month. So kudos to that.
How many volunteers do you guys have through United Way?
Last year, the only count I would have on that is we had, from a standpoint of day of caring, last September, we had just over 500 respond to that particular event, but I know there's quite a few more that come out, but at least 500 plus.
And you have an emerging leaders group as well.
Yes.
It's a kind of a vibrant group of young professionals that get involved specifically with United Way mission. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Emerging Leaders has been a program that United Way, it's a worldwide program across United Way worldwide that donors, young donors that come out, I believe it's 21 to 45, ages 21 to 45 can come in, and if you donate, keep your current donation or up that, you would be able to go into the Emerging Leaders program, which eventually could lead into the team leadership circle and things of that. But it's a very similar, when I learned about it after I came on to my board days at United Way, it's very similar to what the Chamber has in the YP program. And I've been Chamber Ambassador and Chamber YP for just over 4 years, actually aging out of the YP program this year, so a little bit disappointed about that. But it from that standpoint, I am allowed to keep into the Emerging Leaders program and continue There's some collaboration and ideas that you look at all the great things the YP is doing, as well as, the great things emerging leaders are doing, and try to, not overstep or duplicate what the other is trying to do, but, improve on each other's programs.
Groups like that are so critical, especially as a growing area of the state, to have young professionals really working on those leadership skills and making those crucial connections to stay in this area, especially as we continue to attract so many. Mm-hmm. So you brought up the chamber and ways that United Way has partnered and been involved. I'm not sure that you were aware, but the United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley has been in partnership with the chamber over 40 years.
I was aware of that, but United Way, so how we've been around since 1966. So to have that partnership, that is probably one of the longest standing partnerships I think that we have with other, I guess, from lack of a better term, other nonprofit. So I would say the relationship we have has been absolutely great. The staff, it's never about, the fundraising back and forth between one or the other. It's more just creating that relationship and doing the same work. That's really what United Way comes down. United Way, the Greater Chippewa Valley, comes down to, is that we're here to take a proactive approach of actually making a difference. So the more assistance we can give other agencies to do the work that they're doing, the better for all involved.
I love talking to folks about getting involved with the chamber because personally and professionally, I've seen a lot of growth from it. As a transplant to this community, I don't even know how long I can continue to say that because I think I've been here for about 15 years now. But as a transplant to this community, when you have a place to get involved in and make some really good connections and friendships along the way and build your way into a new position similar to what you have and me being hired on here at the chamber, it's just helps make a very welcoming and belonging community. So,
and that's kind of the same thing I have. I know we've talked about this in the past, that I moved here 5 years ago and I knew no one. And I came from a small community up in northern Wisconsin. They didn't have a chamber of commerce. They did have an area United Way for Barron County. So that's the one thing that kind of transplants anywhere you go. The same thing with Chamber of Commerce is that United Way. So we have a lot of people that moved to the area that have been passionate about helping with United Ways that you can kind of just pick up because it's all universally fit. But the one thing that I would definitely say when I moved here is to have that group, the chamber, to fall back on and come in to a group of ambassadors and a group of young professionals that has made all the difference. I attribute that to all the success that I've had since I've moved down here.
And looking forward in the role and the staff that you're building at United Way, what are some ways that you anticipate strengthening the partnership and the relationship that you have with the chamber now?
Just to work for ways to make, move that people out. You always hear people say, move that proverbial needle, make a difference. Just making a difference, doing the work, not duplicating what the other is doing, but at the same time putting in the work to maximize the resources that we have and to continue the work that both sides are doing. Because obviously both organizations have been, in Eau Claire for a very long time. We also work with outlying chambers, but just the relationships that you guys have with the people and the relationships we try to cultivate with the community and the people as well, is there's a lot of similar pathways that we can both work on. And it's very exciting.
It's a fantastic segue, actually, because our missions are so similar, mm-hmm. and the way we serve our business community and our community at large are incredibly similar. Case in point, 2020, when so many folks were struggling in a lot of ways, childcare became a massive need, and a lot of questions in education were needed around that area. As someone who went through that challenge having my own child during that time and needing to bring my little kiddo into work, thank goodness, blessing I would never want again, I was able to call the United Way and say, is this a strategic partnership from the business community and our nonprofit community? Because we certainly internally here at the chamber didn't have the capacity to take it on, although we could lend some support there. And I look back at that time very grateful and thankful for the relationships we were able to build because that task force still exists.
It does. And the chamber was a very big, that was before my time, but honestly, got thrown into that very quickly. But that partnership and original idea from the chamber pushed us into the Chippewa Valley Child Care Task Force, and then also allowed us to become and obtain a Dream Up grant that put money back into the community to address child care deserts and shortages of providers. So those are the types of partnerships that work out very well. The Child Care Task Force after the Dream Up grant is still very much in play. And then in the near future, we'll have the community health assessment results come out. And I know child care, just in preliminary results, was very high up on that. So the next, I think the latest and greatest will come out from that continued partnership with the chamber and the information that comes out of that.
I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask you to talk a little bit about the United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley's impact areas and the ways that people serve. A lot of the dollars go towards those impact areas, and of course we want it to stay that way, but what are the missions that you try to accomplish with those areas as well?
So just to kind of give you a little backstory, so United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley came to be. We've been around since 1966, but we are ultimately separate from our counterparts in Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire. We're separated for a very long time. And in 2010, we came up with the idea, or the idea was proposed to merge. And so that merger came through. United Way went from an agency funding great organizations doing great work into a community impact model. And out of that community impact model, we came up with 4 pillars and upgrading into a 5th pillar this next grant cycle. But we fund and do work in basic needs, education, financial stability, and health. And the 5th initiative has been a grant-funded program for the last about year and a half, has been our digital equity program. And that ultimately is the first serviceable item that we put out. We actually give out devices as part of that program. So the community impact, the grant cycle, we're currently going into year 3 of our current grant cycle, 2022 to 2025. And that will be, that is giving out $1 million investment back in the community into those 4 pillars. The 5th one, again, that digital equity program is still grant funded, but that will, going forward, we'll be looking at ways that can be brought in as a 5th pillar. But those are really what we fund. The programs out of those, we fund 22 agencies and 28 programs. So that goes to say that there are several agencies that do more than one program across our pillars. But all the programs that we invest in, all those dollars stay right here in the Chippewa Valley. I believe our funding breakdown is about 65% of grant dollars right now go to Eau Claire, and about 35% go to Chippewa Falls, and that's mainly just because of the population sector and the programs that both sides serve. So from a standpoint of the funding that comes into United Way, about 86 cents of every dollar goes back onto the community, and that other 14 cents covers a small administrative side of things, and then all the other programs that we're involved in, such the Child Care Task Force, Maternal Child Health, Youth Homelessness Initiative as well.
Wow, that's pretty impactful, all the different programming and ways that businesses and individuals can get involved in United Way. I know you also do events throughout the year that just regular community citizens can get involved in, and again, would be remiss if we didn't at least give you the opportunity to highlight some of those. And I know a few have already happened for this year, but perhaps some upcoming ones as well.
So over the course of the year, we run kind of a cadence of events. So far this year, we've done our Dueling Pianos event, which happens in early spring, late winter. Last 2 weeks ago, we celebrated our Spirit Awards. We have our largest fundraising event coming up in the beginning of June, our annual golf tournament, and then Day of Caring coming up over September, and then our campaign. Alongside of that is our campaign runs year-long. We run on a fiscal year, so we're still in the 2023 campaign. And then in July 1st, our 2024 campaign starts. And then that's really, if you said we had breakdown and have months, it's really from July to November, because then we have a sweepstakes. that we do for all our current and new donors as well. But the events had the opportunity to kind of run the two events so far this year. The Dueling Pianos was an amazing time. Spirit Awards, just that ability to give back to the community and celebrate those that do so much work for us is amazing, and it's been a lot of fun.
Because I've participated in workplace campaigns in the past, I'll ask you a question about best practices for what that could look like, or maybe some unique stories. But one of the things we did when I was with Eau Claire County was a Spirit Week. So we brought back some nostalgia from our high school days and did some really fun different things throughout that, pajama day and, bringing in food day and all kinds of fun. Have you seen some really unique ways to kind of grow workplace campaigns?
Yeah. Being involved in the board and then being and working for a company previously that had participated in those special events. We have companies that will do shred days. The financial institutions will do shred days and penny wars. Penny wars go over very well. We've had others that will do, they'll bring in a food truck. And if you contribute that day or that week to United Way, you're involved to come out and participate with the food truck. We've also had our campaigns as a staff. I have not been involved in them yet, but the last 2 years they've done a pie in the face, which I know it was one of our larger fundraisers and that's pretty crazy considering we have a staff of 8 that are able to do a special event that has as big of an impact as those that have staff of 200. So we pride ourselves on that. And then last year, I know we did a slime. We did a slime contest that was more or less come out of I guess my predecessor would tell you that that could be attributed to whether being liked or being disliked on how the donations came in on there. But the other one that's very creative, and I know like CVTC, for instance, they do a parking. And I know there's a few other companies out there that do parking stalls that XL has a specific parking stall with a sign that if you can buy the parking spot, which is right up at the front door for the month, and those proceeds go back to United Way. So a lot of creative, people don't realize, but those are a very, very big portion of our the gifts that we take in are those people getting involved, and the your employee campaign chairs that we have, your ECCs at each business, and the work that they put in along with the staff that we have to pull those off.
The planning and engagement are the fun extra things for an awfully big impact for our area. I have a theory, unsubstantiated, but a theory that if people truly understood the amount of dollars and volunteer hours that go to keeping our collective communities, Eau Claire and Chippewa, all the others that encompass Chippewa Valley, man, we would probably just crumble if those things went away. It's really incredible the amount of people that give back.
The average when nonprofits do their annual reports, there's a formula out there that you can figure out on an annual basis what an hour of volunteer work is. And this year when we did our annual report, and this is across the board for anybody, but I believe it was just over $31. So if you go and figure even like the Day of Caring, where we have over 500 people for the 4 hours just in what they're giving back, and that's not just United Way, that's there's a very large shortage of volunteers. You have where contributions and volunteer hours are going down for nonprofits, but the amount of help needed is tremendously increasing. It's I guess a piece of the puzzle we haven't figured out yet, but it's hugely important. I cannot say thank you enough to the volunteers and the people that are passionate about giving back to us and giving back to the dozens of nonprofits in Eau Claire and across the Chippewa Valley.
It's really an incredible number, and I'm thankful that you brought it up because back in my Meals on Wheels days, we did track that number as well, and I think when I left it was 24, so that's gone up a lot since then.
I don't have the report in front of me. I believe the number for United Way this year was about $145,000 worth of counted volunteer hours across our program partners, because United Way as a whole, we don't offer aside from being a funder and involved in the community and taking that reactive approach of making a difference and helping others do good work, we don't, the volunteer hours that we get are helping those other nonprofits as well. So it's pretty fascinating and amazing to see.
I wasn't planning to ask you this, but I think that it'd be a good question for listeners here. How does someone apply for United Way grants dollars?
So this particular grant cycle right now is closed and funding through June of 2024. And others would say, well, you shouldn't have to do anything for the 2025 to 2028 for another year. Well, work on that has already been started. The request for proposal has been released about a month or so ago. The applications will come out here in the next month or two. That will all be online through United Way of the Greater Chippewa Valley, uwgcv.org, where any program partner that falls under one of the core pillars and falls under the ALICE threshold. We can address that in a second. But those are going to be the best ways to do that. So that application process will open in the next month or two. That will close. It goes through a very strict review process. We hold our recipients accountable because these are donor dollars. And the work won't finish until about March of next year. And then we'll go into that next funding campaign in the following year. So,
as someone who's been on one of the impact committees and also reviewed some of the grants, I would say don't discount yourself as a nonprofit in applying for those. They're always looking for new grant applications. And yes, outcomes are tracked, but I also think they're reasonable and achievable outcomes. You've got a lot of volunteers that are working really hard to make sure that it's not going to be a waste of your time to apply for these grant dollars. So as someone who's seen the inside, I would just encourage anybody who's interested to reach out to the United Way directly and ask about that grant process.
And we're going to have, and anybody that I would also implore, anybody that's anxious or doesn't know the process involved or thinks they need help or don't have the resources, if you're limited staff or volunteer led, reach out. Our community impact staff is going to be here every step of the way. We're going to have, I believe, sessions that people can come in and work on applications together and put those in. And yeah, don't discount yourselves. I know the last grant cycle, I believe we had over 60 applicants and we were able to fund 28 of them. But that's not to say that the work you're doing isn't vitally important to the Chippewa Valley and it's something new. Just because you haven't gotten funding before or funding again, it's a new process every 3 years. And please apply.
Those numbers are important for our business community and any folks who want to donate too, because the need is always greater. So having that information for listeners is super important. So
if you look at that, you had about a third of the applicants that applied were funded, and you can break that that third number down to what I was just talking about is the ALICE threshold. So ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed, and what that means is you have your federal poverty level, the federal level where people have to be under to receive assistance, state or federal assistance. Well, there's another sector that's right above that is the ALICE threshold, and of households in the Chippewa Valley, a third of all households fall on that threshold, which means a third of those programs and a third of those people can apply for our programs. The other percentage of those people not getting those programs, not getting funded, there's still more work to do. I mean, we've never been in a situation where before that, again, after COVID's taught us to be, I guess you could say, people look at being more responsibility with their finances and looking at this. And I mean, COVID put a lot of people that used to be able to donate into a position where they're now the people that are needing help. So you move that into that sector, and it's mind-boggling the amount of work that still goes unfinished and the work that we still can't do. So those contributions, whether it be volunteering or monetary, are hugely important, because without the help from our community, these programs can be in a world of hurt.
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you being here. I have been personally and professionally involved with United Way in a very, very long time, so I have enjoyed being able to get the story directly from you. We always like to end this podcast with asking our guests why business matters. So, Ryan, why does business matter to the United Way?
Business matters. You brought it briefly up that our mission, our core statements from the Chambers and the United Way side really are about our community as our business. And it might be in a little bit different capacity. The purpose of the Chamber is to grow and be the catalyst for business growth and to push that along. But really on our side, it's the same thing. We're the catalyst for business growth. We're the catalyst for continuing to make the Chippewa Valley great, because so many of the people here need support from both the Chamber and the United Way, and it's been a great partnership. I can't say enough good things about the staff at the Chamber, the staff at the United Way, the relationships we have. It's meant, I know personally, the world to me, and the relationships that I've made between the staff and the people I meet from the United Way. But that's why business matters, because without our two sides in the Chippewa Valley, it would be a lot. There wouldn't be as much good in the world. So
making sure that no one gets left behind. If anything, we have to say about it, right?
Yep. Just you help as much as you can, and do the work you can, and it's great to see.
Well, thanks again, Ryan, for being here. We really appreciate the time. Thank you to our audience as well. We appreciate you tuning in and learning more about the vibrancy of the nonprofits in our area. We are coming to you from the Wind Technology Studio, and would like to say thank you to our media sponsor, Royal Credit Union. A couple of additional announcements from the Eau Claire Chamber. We would love to have you join us for the Chamber Royale, which is happening on May 16th. You can call us or get signed up for that online at eauclairchamber.org. And we do also have our golf day outings coming up here in June and in August. If that's something you're interested in getting involved in, please feel free to reach out to me, Kaylynn Winegar, here at the Eau Claire Chamber.